नमस्ते, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। आई एम जेवियर डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर इन डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ शलाक्य तंत्र, फैकल्टी ऑफ आयुर्वेदिक साइंस, ज्योति विद्यापीठ वुमेन्स यूनिवर्सिटी। Today in this practical session, we will discuss the examination of ear. First of all, we should understand the symptomatology of the patient. If a patient with ear disease presents with one or more of the following complaints like hearing loss, tinnitus, dizziness or vertigo, ear discharge or earache, then we should go for the examination of ear. Apart from these symptoms, if the patient comes with the itching in the ear, deformity of the pinna, or the swelling around the ear, then we should look for these symptoms. We should examine the ear. The details of the history of these symptoms, particularly in the reference to the onset, duration, progression, and severity, should be noted. The examination of ear includes both physical and functional examination. Under the heading of physical examination, it includes the examination of pinna and the surrounding area, external auditory canal without speculum, with speculum, the examination of the tympanic membrane, examination of the middle ear, examination of mastoid, examination of eustachian tube, and examination of the facial nerve and the other cranial nerves. So first of all, we'll study about the examination of the pinna and the surrounding area. The pinna is examined by inspection and palpation. Inspection means the darshan pariksha and palpation means the sparshan pariksha as per the Ayurveda. And the both of its surface, the lateral and the medial, should be examined. We should look for the size of the pinna. If the size of the pinna is short, it may be small, it may be microtia, and if it is large, it is called the macrotia. Then we should look for the shape of the pinna. There may be abnormalities of contour or cauliflower ear. Then what is the position of the pinna? There may be bat ear. We should also look for the redness. In case of furuncle or abscess, redness is present. We should look for swelling. In case of hematoma or abscess, there will be swelling of the pinna. We should look for the vesicles in the concha and retroauricular groove as present in case of herpes zoster. We should look for scars. There may be trauma or perforation. And we should look for the ulceration or neoplasm. We should also examine the area above, in front and below and behind the pinna and look for a swelling as present in case of mastoid or zygomatic abscess, neoplasm or lymph nodes. We should also look for the sinus. In case of preauricular sinus, we should look for the fistula. In case of mastoid fistula, we should look for scar. It is present in case of anteoral or postoral scar due to previous operation. Then comes the palpation part. The palpation of pinna is essential to look for raised temperature. Temperature is raised in case of perichondritis or abscess. Then thickness of tissue as in perichondritis. Then fluctuation as in case of seroma or abscess, and tenderness. The movement of the pinna is painful in furunculosis of the external layer, external canal. The next point is the examination of the external auditory canal. The examination without a speculum and examination with a speculum. In case of examination without a speculum, this is an important part of the examination and precedes the introduction of speculum. The pinna is pulled upward and backward while the tragus is pulled towards to spread open the meatus. Look for the size of meatus, narrow or wide. Contents of the lumen, whether wax, debris, discharge or polyp is present, or swelling of the wall, as in furuncle or neoplasm. Then examination with the speculum. Once the size of the meatus is known, proper speculum is selected and introduced. As you can see in this image, the speculum is introduced in the right ear and the left ear. So that's how we should examine the external auditory canal. Once the largest speculum that can easily enter the canal is inserted, you can very well see the external auditory canal. Look for the wax, debris, discharge, polyp, granulations, exostosis, benign or malignant neoplasm. Sagging of posterior superior area, as in coalescent mastocytitis. Then we should do the examination of the tympanic membrane. The normal tympanic membrane is pearly white in color and semi-transparent and obliquely set at the medial end of the meatus. It has two parts, pars tensa and pars flaccida, both of which should be carefully examined. Its various landmarks are shown in the image. These are the landmarks of the tympanic membrane. On the superior side there is Schaapnel's membrane, on the lower side there is pars tensa, then there is the annular ring in the periphery which is called the annulus tympanicus, and the inferior portion there is cone of light. This cone of light is present antero-inferiorly, and this is the image of the right ear. Then there is lateral process of malleus, posterior malleolar fold. These structures will be seen on the examination of the tympanic membrane. So tympanic membrane is examined for the color. The tympanic membrane will be red and congested in acute otitis media. It will be bluish in secretory otitis media or hemotympanum, and the chalky plaque is seen in tympanosclerosis. Then we should examine the position of the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane may be retracting or bulging. General retraction is seen in tubal occlusion. Retraction pockets are seen in attic or posterior superior region and may collect epithelial flakes. Sometimes tympanic membrane is very thin, deeply retracted, and is fixed to promontory, as in adhesive otitis media. Bulging tympanic membrane is seen in acute otitis media, hemotympanum, or neoplasm of middle ear which has not yet perforated the drum. The surface of tympanic membrane, it may show vesicles or bullae, as in herpes zoster or meningitis bullosa. There may be a perforation of tympanic membrane in acute or chronic otitis media, and a perforation may be central in pars tensa or attic in pars flaccida, or marginal at the periphery involving the annulus. A central portion may be small, medium, subtotal, or total. Then the mobility of the tympanic membrane. The mobility of tympanic membrane is tested with Schiegel's speculum. Here is an image of the Schiegel's speculum. You can see this. Normally the tympanic membrane is mobile. Restricted mobility is seen in the presence of fluid or adhesions in the middle ear. An atrophic segment of tympanic membrane may be hypermobile. Then we should do the examination of the middle ear. Normally, middle ear cannot be examined directly. When tympanic membrane is semi-transparent, some structures can be seen through it. In the presence of a perforation, it is possible to know the condition of middle ear mucosa and any ingrowths of squamous epithelium from the edges of the perforation. Then we should go for the examination of the mastoid. Look for a swelling. In case of abscess or enlarged nodes, swelling will be present. Obliteration of retroauricular groove, as in presence of furuncle. We should look for the fistula, which is present in burst abscess. We should look for scar in case of previous operation. Normally, mastoid surface feels irregular on palpation. These irregularities are ironed out and surface feels smooth in periosteal inflammation as in subperiosteal abscess. Tenderness of mastoid is seen in mastoiditis. It is elicited by pressures at three sides: over the antrum, just above and below the meatus; second site over the tip; and third site is the over the part between the mastoid tip and mastoid antrum. Then we should go for the examination of eustachian tube. Tympanic orifice of the eustachian tube can be seen in the anterior part of middle ear if there is perforation of tympanic membrane. Pharyngeal opening of tube can be seen by posterior rhinoscopy. Function of tube can be tested by Valsalva maneuver. In the presence of a perforation, air can be felt to escape from the ear when patient tries to blow with mouth and nose closed. This is the method of Valsalva maneuver. Then we should go for the examination of facial nerve. The paralysis of facial nerve may coexist with disease of the ear. For example, acute or chronic suppurative otitis media, herpes zoster oticus, malignant otitis externa, tumors of external or middle ear, and trauma. It is essential to test for facial nerve in every case of ear disease. Then comes the functional examination of ear. First is the auditory function. We should go for the voice test, then tuning fork test like Rini test, Weber test, Schwabach test, absolute bone conduction test. The last part of the functional examination will be discussed in the next session. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it soon. Thank you so much.